our editing project that we just did in Premiere, and we're going to do it in Davinci Resolve 16. Okay. I downloaded Davinci Resolve 16 because 17 was in beta, and I didn't want to use a beta. I even used the full app. Okay, so I've launched Davinci, and this is my welcome screen. You can see it has shows projects that I've already created, and I want to create a new project. Okay, this is just my project windows, and I can change thumbnail size and list view as icon view, and I can search. I don't really have that many projects to go, and so I can click down here for a new project or double click there. And here we are in Davinci. Okay. Okay, so what we have here is, let's go to this is the cut. So let's go to the editing. Looks a little bit more familiar with Premiere. I have, what we got here is my project pane or my media pool. Okay, where I can store all my media. Let's bring something in, and here's my little bar. Let's bring something in first so then we can see it. There's lots of ways, file, import, but as I told you before, I like drag and drop. Okay, so let's try. This is Command Tab, whoops, not to the Photoshop, but to the Finder, and find that folder. Where is it? 2020 film classes, class 2, dance shots 8D, HD. And here's all my project file, all the information I want. It has a little bit more than I need. I think I got other things in here. Let's just take everything. Let's just zoom in, because I know there's some things I don't want. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in on that. And you can see, here's my movies. I had to, Davinci Resolve doesn't work with layered Photoshop files the same way. I mean, it does, but that's another lesson altogether. But it doesn't work as easy. I can't open up in the timeline like I did in Premiere. I mean, because it's an Adobe app. So I had to turn each one of my Photoshop layers into a separate file. Okay, so it's transparency, so it's a PNG. Okay, if you have transparency, you got to have a PNG. JPEGs don't hold transparency. Photoshop documents do, but PNGs do also. So I don't need this file anymore, so I'm going to Command click to delete that. There's my jump down, my override. I don't need this. This is extracted audio that was created in the Premiere project when I took the audio file into Audition to get rid of the noise. This is the Audition file, and here's the extracted wave file. Okay. What else do I don't need? I don't need that because that was an old file. I think this is it. I got my swing dance, spinning, spinning. Okay. So those are the files I want. I want to take stuff I don't need. So I can just take it and I can just drop it in my pane. And I get a dialog box that tells me that the clip have different frame rate than the current project settings. Would you like to change the timeline frame rate to match your video? Of course I do. And we like that. Okay, so here it is. We just got one window. Well, let's look at what we have first. Okay, let's go through the little buttons up here. I have my different workspaces, my media pool, which shows me here. My different workspaces are down at the bottom. Okay, we have media, cut, edit, fusion, which is like a After Effects kind of special effects program. My coloring, my Fairlight, which is the audio program, and my Deliver, which is my export. Okay. Up here are just different windows I can view here. What I'm looking at here is my media pool, and of course I have a side that shows me the folders. I don't have any folders at the moment, so we'll just leave that there. I will make some bins. This is just file size, of my thumbnails. This is the list view as I'm sorting. Okay. Of course, this is thumbnail view. I'm going to just put my cursor right between. If you put your cursor anywhere between windows, you can see it turns to like a double arrow, which lets you resize your windows. Okay. We like resizing our windows. Okay, so there's the icon view. Here's the list view. Okay, icon view, list view. Let's see what else. Okay, let's go view, and of course I can show different things. So if I go list view, I can have it show a film strip. So when I click on a file that has video, whoops, oh there, this is JPEG, but so here's the video of my blue screen. See that? All right, so there we have that if you want to list view and you can still see your video. Okay. What other kind of settings? Dual pane media. I think that's fine. What I like to use over here is my other pane so I can see, but I don't have any bins yet. And I'm going to make some bins. Okay, so here's my sound library, my edit index to view, my effects library, and my sound library. Okay, whoops. Okay, let's go back to the media pool. Again, this little button right up here gives me full screen or half screen for my timeline. Okay, let's just take a video clip, and well, of course we all know I'm going to go back to this view, my thumbnail view, and I'm going to drop this into the timeline. Okay, there we go. I just drop it in, and there it is. There, it's snapped at the beginning, and here is my audio track and my video track, and you can see it made whatever it needed. Okay, if it had couple audio tracks, it would have thrown down there a video track. So it created an audio track and a video track, and here's my video. Okay. One thing that looked a little bit different, there's a button right here that takes me one screen or two screen. Okay, we kind of like the one screen mode. I'm going to close my inspector palette for a second. And here's my double screen. Here's my source monitor that shows me whatever I have selected. And here's my program monitor or my timeline monitor, which shows me what's on the timeline. And it shows me whatever's where my playhead. Okay. And this one shows me what I have selected, whether it's on the timeline or in the bin or in the media pool. Same thing. Okay. All right. What else I want to talk about? Okay. Well, one thing it's a little bit different than Premiere. It's a little different. So you see in Premiere over here, these two time codes have switched. This is my current time code where I can do my math, plus minus frames. This tells me the length of my clip. Okay, here's my zoom view, my viewing options, gang viewers, so move them together, live media previews, show all video frames, show zoomed audio waveform, show clip audio waveform. And this is a little bit different than Premiere. So I can actually, if I have a file that has audio, I can see my waveform right here in this window, which may help you do your edits, your in and out points. Okay. So that option is done up over here. Show full clip audio waveforms. Okay. Okay, so we've got the same thing here. We've got our view percentage, the length of the clip, where my playhead is. These windows over here will show me bypass color effects. So if I have effects, it can bypass them. This window is the one window button, and I have my drop down to show overlays. I can show my time code overlays and various overlays. My marker overlays. So if I put a marker, which is M on your keyboard or this little button here, you can see the marker shows up there. Only because my options have show markers. Okay, I'll just undo that. Okay. So I got my audio mixer up here, my metadata tab, and my inspector palette. Okay, my inspector palette if I'm transforming or whatever I'm doing. This is just like the effects control palette inside Premiere. Everything that I drop in the timeline has basic transformation effects, right? Opacity, basic transformation. We have something a little extra. Well, cropping. Stabilization is built in. And dynamic zoom is something kind of interesting. We'll look at that a little bit later. Okay. And my metadata. You want to fill in your metadata. You want to make sure. And this is my audio mixer down there. Okay, and I can bring it out and bring it down. I don't need that at the moment. Okay, so here we go. We've got Rob on the timeline.
If you look at the Lindy Hop, you see a couple just move.
Okay. So underneath my source and monitor windows, you can see we have pretty well the same kind of things here. What I have here is my basic transport controls. I have my transport controls: stop, play, forward, backwards, to the beginning, the end, loop. This little window is a match frame. I'll show you that a little bit later. And we got my in and out points. In and out points. I and O. Okay. I for the in point. O for the out point. So my main transport controls, you see I have the same transport controls over here. What we have here in this little button here that you don't see when we're in Premiere and you double click, you see the transform controls. You click this little button to see the transform controls and not. Okay. I've got the crop, my dynamic zoom, and my OpenFX overlays and my annotation, so I can see various things. Okay, my crop, transformation, and my dynamic zoom. Okay. What else do we have? Again, keyframing. What we have down here, what do we have down here is our toolbar. We've got our selection tool, our trim tool, our dynamic slip and slide tool, our razor blade tool, insert, overwrite, replace, snapping, linking, position lock. I got my bookmarks and my markers, and I give each one a different color. So I can color code them, make it easier on myself. I have different views of my timeline. Full extent zoom takes me right there. And then, so that also Shift Z does that. Shift Z takes you back and forth. This one is detailed zoom, so I go right in. You know, Command plus does that. Command minus does the same thing. Okay. And the last one is custom zoom. So you can have a built-in custom zoom that you always go to all the time. You know, well, again, buttons to zoom, Command plus, Command minus, Shift Z. Okay. Shift Z takes you back and forth too. So where you were zoomed in, or zoomed in, I guess. You know, where you were zoomed in to full screen, zoomed in, full screen. So it bounces back and forth, Shift Z. I have another scroll window here, view window. And I have my little volume control. I can dim the audio. What this little button does is nothing. I can't see that button. Okay. There we go. I got my time code up here. I got my color-coded tracks. I have my V1. You know, if I had another video track, I suppose I can add a track and move my main up, right? So I can tell which is the main track that's going to be worked on. I have this makes the track active for editing. Okay, so if I clicked on that and I did an overwrite, it wouldn't overwrite that. Okay, it would just overwrite the audio. This little button here is just visibility. Okay, it's like your eyeball. Same kind of thing. But that's kind of neat. This disables track. So here I got my audio track. I can disable it by clicking there. And it's not active, so I can't overwrite it. Okay, I can move it, do other things, but I can't overwrite it. If I lock it, then I can't do anything to it. Okay. Add a bin. So just like before, we had a little button in Premiere where I could click and add the new button. A little turnover edge piece of paper is my new button. I just right-clicked in there, and it gave me bin 1, and I can give bin 1 a name, and it's going to be B-roll for all my B-roll movies. So I'll just Command click, select all of them, move them into there. Okay. I will right click or control click. I'll make another bin and I'll call this, this bin will be called intro. So it was the title of the bin was highlighted, waiting for me to actually type it in. So I didn't have to select it like I did last time. Okay, so here we got my Photoshop files. Whoops. I held down the shift key. I didn't want to do that. So I can just deselect that. And everything else. Oh, Bloomy should have been in there in the B-roll. But I think this is my intro. And Bloomy's goes over here. There's my audio, my music for the file. There is my project. You can see it has audio and video. Let's just zoom in on that. See that? Audio and video. Okay. This one just says audio. These are my two folders. This is my timeline. Timeline 1 tells me the length of my timeline, frame rate and everything by clicking the little triangle. This little here is my timeline icon, I know, or sequence if I was in Premiere. Let's go to the B-roll. You can see these don't have any audio to it, so you can see it's just a video file. Okay, so there's no icons there. We don't have the list. That's a nice little jump down. Tells you where it is. It's in an out point and how much you use it. Okay. Let's back out of there. Back out of there. If I come over to this button right here, it shows me a sidebar. So I can show the master bin or just that bin or that bin. Okay. Kind of nice. Smart bins is you can create a smart bin and label it so whenever you import certain items, they go to that bin. That's another class lesson altogether. Okay, so let's do some editing. We're ready to go now, and we'll see how the same. So,
If you look at the Lindy Hop, you'll see a couple just moving. They're constantly moving.
okay, so again, I'll do roughly the same edits if I can remember. So here we go, right there. Okay. Right there. Okay, so that's going to be my in point. So I'm going to hit I on my keyboard to insert an in point because that's where I want to insert a B-roll. Okay, and moving, constantly moving. Here we go. Let's hit play forward. You know, that's the shot. I like that shot. I like how they jump. That's going to be my out point. And my in point again is as soon as I got them full screen. There we are, right there. And out. Sorry, that was supposed to be my in point. I put two outs. Two outs don't work. There we go. Cut. There we go, right there. Out. Okay. So down here in my command, I have, of course, the same buttons as Premiere. I have my insert. I have my overwrite and my flop. What this program has, which I kind of like, it reminds me of Final Cut Pro, the old one, is an overlay. So when I take my clip, I put my in and out points, I drag it over to the timeline monitor, and I get this overlay pops up. So I can insert it, overwrite, replace, fit to fill, place on top, which is like a superimposing, a pen at the end, and a ripple overwrite. Look at that. So what I want is insert. And there we go. Okay, Shift Z to keep the timeline in the window. Hit home on my keyboard.
If you look at the Lindy Hop, you'll see a couple just moving. They're constantly moving. They're always on the go. They go around a circle, mostly clockwise, sometimes reverse.
Okay, so sometimes reverse. This is again, I'm going to do a couple of the same edits just because I like them. So sometimes reverse, and that was this couple here. Okay, And this is the one I'm going to match up my out points. Sometimes reverse. Again, and okay, is that it? It's just, yeah, so it's reverse and up like that. There we go. There's my out point. Okay, here's my out point on this timeline. Of course, I'm going to put my 2 in points over here. Okay, so and I want to put it just as he's talking about.
Around the circle, mostly clockwise. Sometimes.
Okay, so that is.
They go around the circle.
They go around in circle. Where does that end up?
They go around the circle. Mostly.
Go around in circle. Let's put that as my end point. Okay, so my 3-point edit. All you need to have in video editing on a nonlinear edit is 3 points. I have one here. This is my out point, and I have an in and out. Okay, so this out is going to match that out, and I'm going to grab as much of this clip to fit in here. Hopefully, I have enough. So let's go, and I'm going to do an overwrite this time. Okay, so it's just going to overwrite the video, not the audio. And the reason why it's not going to write the audio because there is no audio on this file. I could come over here and click here to deactivate the track if I had audio and I didn't want to overwrite it, but I don't have to worry about that. And I love this. I love my drag and drop. So this is going to be an overwrite. Look at that. Bang. Beautiful. And let's just go back a bit in time.
So they go around in circle, mostly clockwise, sometimes reverse. There's a lot of stops, a lot of spins, a lot of boogie-woogie steps.
Stop, spins, and I'm going to boogie-woogie steps. As soon as he's saying boogie-woogie steps, I want this guy over here doing some boogie-woogie. That's boogie-woogie steps. All right, so there we go. I'm gonna put my in point here again. Oops, click the timeline because I just put the in point there because I had that monitor selected. And if I click this monitor, it's like the same thing as clicking the timeline. Okay. Boogie-woogie steps. Okay, so let's come up here. Let's Option I and Option O. So Option I got rid of that in point that I put there. Option O gets rid of the out point. I in point, O. And Option X gets rid of everything. Okay. I think. Let's go to my marker tab. I keep on saying that. Clear in and out. Clear video, and just audio. You hold down the Option key while you do that. Option Shift. Interesting. Okay. So they have a special keyboard command to clear just the video in and out points and just the audio in and out points. But clear all is Option X. Clear out, Option O. Clear in, Option I. I love my keyboard commands. You will too as you get along because it makes editing quicker. No matter if you're working in Photoshop or video editing or Pro Tools, keyboard commands are great. So boogie-woogie steps. Okay. So here we go. So I'm going to do it with his foot up, in, and I'm going to cut it out before the light goes off him. There we go. And that is my O. And this time, I'll click a button down here. So just click the overwrite. There we go.
There's a lot of stops, a lot of spins, a lot of boogie-woogie steps. You use your whole body. So
you use your whole body. So
you kick, you use your arms, you use your hips, you use everything in your body to accentuate what you hear in the music. You use your whole body. So
you use your whole body. So after he says that, we're going to cut to, well, we have a visual clue here. You can see I've already edited these ones. You see that? You can see, I can see, it shows you how much of the clip is on the timeline, my in and out points, and right here. Okay, so you obviously know these are the two clips that I have to edit. I love my little graphical user interface. It makes life easy. You know, if I had lots of clips and not only 4. So what are we again? So now let's go. What are we going to edit this time again? I forgot.
Use your whole body.
You use your whole body. You know, I think I'm going to use this. And here's another one where I'm going to put my in and out points. Sorry, not not on that timeline option. I have to get that out. Click this timeline or the timeline monitor, and that's going to be my in point. Because I want, the reason why I'm doing this, I want my cuts to go with the audio. As soon as he's done.
You kick, you use your arms, you use your hips, you use everything in your body.
You use everything in your, I think I kind of like that. I'm going to have him talk over all that. Okay? I think that is, so while he's talking about using your whole body and all that kind of stuff, that is where this guy's going to come in. Okay? So, you know, this, I'm not going to put, you know, if I don't put any in and out points, it should just grab the very first frame. You know, this, it looks the same all the way along. What's the first frame look like? Well, let's just go here. Yeah. All right. 3 points. If I didn't have the third point, I would just grab it from the beginning, but I'm just moving it in a little bit. And overwrite. Okay. Bang. Let's just back that up, see what that looks like.
You use your whole body. So you kick, you use your arms, you use your hips, you use everything in your body to accentuate what you hear in the music.
All right. So I got one more clip. You know, I think I'm going to stick this one at the end. Let's just see. You know, let's just, so here he is. There he is. I like this shot. Back. In. And out. I like that little swing. You know, so let's say my play it's here. I have my in and out points. This time I'm going to do something a little bit different. It's kind of a neat clip. So if I take this and I drag it over here, what I can do is I can append to the end. See that? Bang. So it doesn't matter. I don't need my third in point. It just throws it at the very end of my clip. Okay. All right. So hit home. Let's see what we got so far.
If you look at the Lindy Hop, you'll see a couple just moving. They're constantly moving. They're always on the go. Around the circle, mostly clockwise, sometimes reverse. There's a lot of stops, a lot of spins, a lot of boogie-woogie steps. You use your whole body. So you kick, you use your arms, you use your hips, you use to accentuate what you hear in the music.
Okay. It's all right. So let's look at some of our editing buttons here that we've got. And okay, so the first one, of course, my selection tool lets me select clips and I can move them around. Okay. And I can do that kind of stuff. All right. Just like in Premiere Pro Selection. My editing is the timeline tools. And this is interesting. Okay. So let's just zoom in on this. And so this tool, we've got one tool in Premiere. We've got, okay, this tool. So we have the ripple, roll, slip, and slide. So we have 4 tools in Premiere. They've put them all into one tool called the trim tool. Okay. So if I'm on here and I'm on this side of my edit point, can you see? Let's just do that. Let's just bring that up. So if I'm on this side of my edit point, it turns into just a trim tool. Okay. That side, same thing. Okay. The one, if I put it over top, it's a rolling edit tool. And I'm going to show you these, and then I'm going to back up and show you the monitor. I'm just showing you what the tool. So this is the rolling edit tool. So we have the ripple edit. Right, as you can see, it ripples both directions. We have the roll. It all depends, right? This is the slide, and I'm down here, the slip. Okay? Just depends where you put your cursor. All right? Rolling edit up here. Okay. So let's decollect everything. Let's back out again. I'll just show you how my timeline changes. My monitor up here changes. Okay. Oh, I lost the guy at the back. How did I do that? I must have did edit undo. I must have said undo. Okay, let's just take this person and put him in the back again. Penned it in. Right. Okay. So let's just grab this. And so here's my ripple edit tool. And you can see it's rippling the clip on the left. Okay. And it's showing me what's happening to it. Okay. And let's bring that there. Okay, what I do there, let's just see.
In your body to accentuate what you hear.
So you can see what happened there. It rippled. So this clip is because I have one long video audio clip, and so when I do my rolling edits and all that, it's going to throw the audio out of sync. That's just because I have one long audio track for 5 different edits. Okay, so that's why it's actually kind of weird. Okay, so and then of course I have the ripple delete this side. Okay, and you can see I'm just changing where it comes in. Okay. I can grab the back if I want and ripple the back, and it shows me what's the last frame now. Okay. I come up in this window, and this is my slip tool. Okay, so you see the edit on the left and right are remaining the same. I'm just slipping that edit point of the overhead where it starts and finishes. Right. The slip tool. So I'm just slipping it around. Okay. So I'm not doing anything to the clip on the right and the left. I'm just changing the in and out point of my overhead. Okay. If I come down here to the bottom, it's the slide tool. And what I'm doing is I'm sliding. I'm not doing anything to the overhead shot. I'm just changing where it comes in and where it goes out. Okay. And so I can see, I'm cutting with audio, but then again, you can see here, you can also cut with video too, because you can see if I did a cut here, you got over here, this Rob on the left side, he's got a kind of a silly look on his face. You really wouldn't want to cut with that look. His eyes are closed. You'd want to cut there where he's looking. And it kind of matches, his in and out kind of matches there, so that's kind of not bad. Right? And see.
Use your whole body. So you kick. You use your arms, you use your hips, you use everything in your body to accentuate.
And so as you see, I threw the audio out because it's all, they're not working together. Because it's one big clip and 3 audio points. Okay? If I would have just had all different edit points that were related to this audio, you wouldn't see any difference. But we got a talking head, and so whenever I do an edit, I got to make sure I edit the audio too. Okay. Slip, slide, ripple, and roll. Okay. We got a razor blade, which cuts up, cuts wherever your playhead. Command B does that. Command K for cut in Premiere. Command B for blade in whatever this program is called. Davinci Resolve. So, as you can see, pretty simple. Pretty similar stuff. All right, Shift Z, fill the timeline.
If you look at the Lindy Hop, you'll see a couple just moving.
Okay, so let's continue on and let's work with our intro. Okay, so over here, my media control, I can go to master. My intro, I can look at all my different bins. Okay, so let's go to intro. Okay, so what I need now is a new timeline. Okay, and if I come over here, where's my timeline view buttons? Oh, here we go. My timeline view buttons. So it gives me my stack timelines, subtitle tracks, audio waveforms. Right, I want these on. Okay. View options is my film view, my thumbnail view, or just tiny view. All right. Thumbnail. I usually work with just the first frame as thumbnail. And my audio, I like my waveforms. It's just a different waveforms. My video track height, so I can make my tracks, my audio, my video tracks larger. Okay. So right click timelines, create a new timeline. Command N. I need a new timeline. Again, excuse me, in the Premiere, I would just drag my video clip down to the sequence button, to the new button at the bottom of the project window, and create my new timeline. But I'm doing it here. Create timeline. Control click inside my media pool. And I'm going to create a new timeline. Let's create a new timeline. Click create. And let's just drop this video in here. There we go. Beautiful. So it created a new timeline that matched my old timeline. So there we go. So, and it's called timeline number 2. There we go. Triple click. Intro timeline. Okay. And it's right there. And here's, we got tab timeline. See that? This is kind of nice. And we also have stack timelines. I can stack one on top of another. I like tab timelines. It makes it easier at stacking my timelines. Is that this button right here? Yeah, there we go. Stacking my timelines. Oh, I think I closed them. That's why. If I add another timeline. There we go. Select a timeline. Timeline number 1. Ah, okay, cool. So I can add new timelines this way. Beautiful. I like this. That's a nice feature. Okay, so this is my intro. And the intro starts with, whoops, with my curtain. Whoops, I had the razor blade in my hand. It's always good to have the move tool when you're not the razor blade. You can cut things up. And let's just, I'm just going to drag this all the way to 12 inches. 12 seconds, right there. Let's hit Shift Z to fill up the window. Okay, so I'm just going to drag some stuff down here. So here's my triangle. I'm just going to drag and drop it here. And this one has transparency on it again. You can see here. I'm not too sure on my timing. I think I'm going to have everything end around the 12 seconds. Yeah. I think I'm going to have end because this, again, I'm going to use these first, 5 seconds, most likely 6 seconds for my flying text, because I remember I got my flying text coming in. So I'm going to leave the first 5 seconds for my flying text. Okay. Then the triangle comes in, and then the people dance on it. And I'm going to have this snap to the top. Bang, snapping. Right? We love snapping. It's somewhere around here. It's a little magnet. There it is. Okay, you like snapping. There you go. I'm just going to take this. Has no audio on here, so I'm just going to drag this down. Give us lots more room for our tracks. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the blue screen, just like I did in excuse me. In Premiere, we switched it with an After Effects composition, and I dropped an After Effects composition. I took it to After Effects, threw key light on it, and threw key light effects on it, and removed the green screen or the blue screen. In this program, I'm going to do it in the color tab. So I'm coming down here to my workspace, and I'm going to the color workspace. Okay, this workspace is interesting. It uses a node workspace. Okay, so it's going to take us a little bit while to get used to, unless you've worked in a node work environment again. So what it is, of course, this is my clip. This is my clips coming out of here into this node, and then traveling to the export window. Okay, which is this window. Coming in on this side, kind of like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another node. I'm going to add a node. Sorry, add a node, and you can see here. Let's just zoom in on that. I just right-clicked on the inside this window here and add a node, and it's a corrector node. Okay, corrector node, because I'm going to correct my video, and I'm going to join it. There we go. Okay, so now my video is going to go to here, and then from here to there. All right. Okay, so going into here, and then out here. Okay, so you see these are in and out points. You can see arrow and a square, right? Flow. Here's my video is flowing from here into here, and then this one I'm going to add an effect, and it's a color effect, and it's not a hue saturation color adjustment, and it's a 3D color adjustment. I really don't understand how it works in 3D, but anyways, they call it a 3D. I guess because I'm creating transparency in here, but so it doesn't say anything about blue screen, but it says 3D. Okay, and what I do is I come over here with my selector tab. Let's just zoom in on this again so you can see. So my picker, I'm going to pick colors. I'm going to subtract from my selection range and add to my selection range. I'm going to play around with these 5 settings to help remove the matte. And what's this button do? And yeah, it helps you. This is the edge. Okay, so let's see how we can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, it says some light blue and dark blue, and kind of surround these people. And that's kind of my blue I want to have happening. You can see what happened here. If you look at this clip, I don't know how good you can see. It did the opposite. It just erased them and kept this side. Okay, you see that? But that's all right, because we have a switch, a swap button. All right, so I'm going to invert my selection and then to that one. Okay, and then if you come over here, you can see it's not good, but it's not bad. Okay, but I can't see anything here. Okay, and that's because I'm not showing my alpha. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. Okay, so what we have here, my little clip. Let's just go over here. Let's just zoom in on this. This may be, so this is my opaque pixels. These are my transparent pixels. So I need to add an alpha output. Okay, there's my opaque, and there's my alpha. And if I just take from the alpha from the clip, of course the green, we have the green coming in. There's no alpha here, but we created it here. So I'm going to grab the alpha from this node and take that to the alpha output, and ta-da! Okay, not bad. Play with the radius. You know, there's really not much I can do with this one. It's a poor quality file, but I got rid of the background. You can see I still got the shadow there. I think what I need to do is just clip my black a little bit. Okay, and I can always click add to, and I can kind of add some of this color too. Okay, I have to go back to the color mode. I have to click on the right track, mind you, and I can add to this color. All right, let's try to add some of this color, add some of that color. All right. And let's just go here and yeah, not bad. We're just going to leave that like that. I've clicked where I can do my blur radius a little bit more. Okay, and let's just put this back here so I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, good enough. Okay, there we go. So we moved the blue screen. We did it here on this file. Of course, I just selected all that. You can see they don't dance off the triangle very well, but that's okay. Beautiful. So I created a node. I added the effect of my qualifier to try to decide what I didn't want left in there. And there we go. I got rid of it. So let's go back to the editing section. Editing. And we should have it done right there. Okay, it's not perfect, mind you. I've got, they're dancing off the triangle. They're too big. So I'm going to just select this clip. I'm going to go single monitor at the moment because I'm going to bring up my inspector palette. Okay. And I'm going to choose the free transform control. So my inspector palette over here, I could put in my values that I want, you know, for my opacity, or I can grab just my free transform button there. You see that? Over here in the bottom right corner, and I'm just going to shrink that down and move it over here. And you see what happened? Everything's shrinking. My background's shrinking. I'm losing everything, right? Let's just put these people here. Let's just keep them that size. So what I've done is I've shrunk down the window, and it shrunk down my 3D window. So I can fix that, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So it's kind of interesting this way how it works. I guess it's a 3D window, and I guess I'm controlling the whole window. So if I go back to color, and I come up to my window button, and I choose a square window. Whoops, there it is there. So now I've got my whole file back, and I got like a little square window around my dancing people. So let's just make it bigger. Again, I can just grab the corner point. I'm moving the whole thing. Let's just grab the corner point. Move that over here. Of course, I can make it big, so I'm making my window larger than the video clips. I don't want to do that, so we just go here. And if you remember, I had white way over here. Whoops. That's what I just did there. The side panels are my feathering. Right? The red one is that. And if I move the corner, you can see I have that white over there. So this effect here, my cropping out my window, is going to also remove that white piece that the blue screen didn't cover up. So I don't have to worry about that. Where I cropped it out the other window. Okay, let's just see how they do here. Let's just crappy blue screening. See that? Look at that. That's crappy. But that's... Clip black. There we go. Bring that up a bit. Denoise a bit. Let's come over here. Let's try to... there we go. Clip that black right out of there. Okay. So I don't know if you noticed what I did there. I removed there was some of the background. Of course, you see this black here? I made my window too big. And I clipped the white and the black to try to get rid of that out of there. And it worked. Okay. Even though the file wasn't. So I clipped the black at 32. You can see when I bring it down, you can see what happened there. So that's what I was doing. You can see I wanted to remove this information up here. Okay. So then I increased the black clip until it was gone. Okay. I need to go back to my window. Let's click here and make it not as big because you can see and the red dot lets me feather the edges. Okay. I don't really need to feather the edges because it's all transparency and it should. So let's see if they stay on the screen. Not bad. There we go. So, and I did a better job by clipping the black. Yeah, I still got some information out here in the edge. At the very top. But I'm not going to worry about it for now. Okay. There we go. Blue screen. And in my color mode, you notice how, we can deal with each layer. Okay. Okay. Beautiful. So now let's go back to my editing. And I have it play. I have my camera. My people dancing. Okay, so now they take off. So let's go. I'm just going to move ahead one frame at a time using my arrow keys right till, there we go. That's the frame. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to grab, even though I'm still in the move tool, I can actually grab here and I can roll this back. Okay. There we go. So they just disappear. What I want to do, I want them to kind of fade in and fade out. On my clip here, you can see if I put my cursor, let's just bring this down a bit. Let's zoom in a little bit more. And you see I bring my cursor right over top of and we have this little white triangle there. See that? That's opacity. So I can fade it out, there's 5 frames or whatever. See that? And I can come down here to the front and do the same thing. Just fade that out. And I'll do that same with my triangle. Just so it doesn't pop up. Whoa. So it's got a built-in fade here. I don't do any keyframings. I just drag it like that and you can see my fade in. Let's just back up and see how that looks. Click here. Let's just turn off my bounding box. Hit the home key. Hit home. And so now the triangle and the people dancing should fade in. Fade out. There we go. The triangle fades out. And you see here, you see this little graphical jagged edge here? That shows me I'm at the very end of my video file. At the end of not the end of the clip, but end of the information. Okay, this is another thing from Final Cut Pro that I like. Let's go back to, so here's my 2 monitor, my 1 monitor. Great for desktop here. I can close my inspector now. Oh, you think I can. But now, my inspector is going to be important now because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the text fly in. Okay, so let's start with the Lindy Hop. Okay, so I've got 5 of these, and I want it to, I think I'm going to have them to be. You can see I've got about. So let's make them all 2 seconds long, right there. So I got 4 of them. So that's 2, 8, which would take me all the way up to here. I don't know if I want to go that far. But then we're going to overlap them. So I think that'll be nice. Okay, so let's go here. Here's my file. Again, there's Lindy. I want Lindy. Of course, this is my first of the frame right here. You can see that. Okay, so she's going to fly in for half a second. Sit there for a second and fly out. So I'm going to put my playhead at about half a second. Right there, it's 14 frames. I can just hit 15 frames is really where I want, at half a second. See that? And I'm going to keyframe all that. So you can see here, let's just go over here. My inspector palette is like effects control on Premiere Pro, but here's it is the inspector palette right there. Okay, and everything like Premiere, I can play around with its opacity, its transformation, cropping, and mostly here, my basic controls. So if I want to keyframe it, and I put it at half a second where I want it to be 100%, I want it to be in the center of my document. I want it to be no rotation and everything else. So I'm going to click that, and this is basic transformation keyframing. See that? So if I clicked here, and it took a keyframe on all my parts there. I like doing that. Makes it easy because I want everything keyframed. And I click here, and there you go. Okay. So I want them to sit there for 1 second. So if I hit plus 100, enter, sorry, click the timeline first thing, plus 100, enter, and I've actually made the clip longer by 100. I don't want to make the clip longer, and that's why, because I clicked here, I selected the clip. I want to move the timeline. So if I had the clip selected, I'm making the clip longer by 1 second. But if I have just the timeline selected and I hit plus 100, I'm just moving the playhead. Okay. And so what I want to do, hopefully you understand what I want to do, is I'm going to keyframe these again in this spot by clicking over here in my inspector palette, the keyframing for opacity and all that. Let's actually make sure I keyframe the opacity on the other one. And I did. Okay. So just like Premiere, this is my little triangle to jump from one keyframe to the next. This is the way I get from keyframe to keyframe. If you want to make it altering a keyframe, you have to be right on the keyframe. If you're right beside it, you end up creating another keyframe, and we don't want to do that. Okay, so let's hit the home key. This time I'm not going to use these values, but I'm going to change this. But I want to keyframe this option too, so I'm going to put a keyframe for transformation and opacity. And what I want to do is I'm going to shrink this down, move it over here off the screen. All right, well, I'm going to come over to the rotate tab, and we'll just rotate it. Okay, I hit play. There we go. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to put myself at the very last frame. Okay, remember the beginning of the last frame, not the end of the clip, but at the beginning of the last frame of the clip. Remember that if you're going to remember anything. Right? So at the very end of our Lindy Hop, we're in nowhere's land. We're at the end, and we're waiting for the next video to show through. Okay, so I want to be at the beginning of the last frame. If that makes sense to you. I hope it does. And I'm going to keyframe opacity and my position and my transformation by clicking. There we go. And I can scale it down, bring it out here. Okay. And again, lower the opacity. I didn't lower the opacity of the other one, but I'll get to that. Let's just jump there, there, there. I'm at the very end, and I'm going to lower the opacity. There we go. So I'm jumping because I have 4 keyframes. One at the end, 2 in the middle, and 1 at the end. And these 2 at the middle, because I want it to stay still. If I just had 1 keyframe, it'd fly in and it'd fly out automatically. But I want it to fly in, stay for a second, and fly out. And you notice here I got no rotation going on. So let's make sure I'm on the keyframe. Let's just go make sure I'm on that keyframe. There we go. I'm not on the keyframe. It's at home. All right. Perfect way to get the keyframe is jump to the keyframes. There, now I'm on the keyframe. It's very important to be on the keyframe because I'm going to do the rotation now. I'm going to do ass backwards. Okay? Hit home. We fly in. We fly out. Okay. And you can see each one of my ticks on my motion path is a frame. Okay? And that will show me where my project is on each one of those ticks. Okay. Right. So nowhere until it actually gets there. See that? Okay. So, and what we have there is straight path. It's like a linear motion path. Okay. If I right click or control click on the anchor point, I can give it a smooth. There we go, which gives me a Bezier handle. I had to be on the keyframe. I'm sorry. Not just control click on the keyframe, but actually have your play it on the keyframe. Okay, so now I got a curved path. Okay, let's go here and let's click this again. Let's select this anchor point. And what I have here is my path. And each anchor frame has 2. There's my rotation one right there. Okay. There's my rotation wheel. All right, now I know where it is. Okay. All right, so my motion path. And what this little dot here is my ramp speed. You can see how I'm making it quicker at the beginning and then slowing down. You can see that. So you can see how so if I move it closer, it's speeding up and then slowing down. So this is my ramp speed. Okay. I can have it slow down and speed up. 50-50. Okay. Let's just do that. Okay, and then I'm going to come over here. So if well, there we go. Beautiful. Now I can make it smooth. There we go, and I'm going to do this one. Look something like that. All right. It's like a W. Okay. Zoom out. Hit home. Not too crazy about my last. I'm not rotating anywhere. Hey, how come? Oh, I make my rotation angle and I think I undo it all the time. All right. Home. Zoom in. All right. All right. One last thing I'm going to do. Let's just click here. And this rotate. Oh, that's my ramp speed. I'm the wrong button. Let's move the ramp speed. Let's click here. What if I? There we go. Move it there so I can get it. There. So I just wonder if I'm doing all kinds of rotations. Let's see what that does. Yes. Okay. There we go. So now I'm making many rotations. All right. Don't know if I like that or not, but there we go. So 2 seconds. Okay. So Carolina Shag. Let's come over here and drag Carolina Shag and just do that. What we're going to do, I'm just going to bump them up to 2 seconds. I'm going to move them by myself a little bit later. You can see I have tick marks here. 2 seconds. Right? 2 seconds. Where my playhead is, and you can see this clip is 2 seconds, 1 frame long. Okay, if I double click on it, loads into the window, and I can get my both windows. Okay. Okay, so now the same thing. I'm going to be at 15 frames roughly. Keyframe my opacity, and all my transform settings. I just did 10 frames. I didn't put enough seconds in. Okay, let's keyframe that. Keyframe my opacity and my transformation. Let's put it at the beginning of the clip. All right. Let's keyframe, and I'm at the beginning of the clip. It tells me right there. Okay, that's a little the end point. I'm at the end point of this clip. This is what this little thing tells me right there. Okay, and let's keyframe that. Okay, we're going to keyframe my opacity and transformation. I'm going to take my opacity to 0. I'm going to shrink this down, and this one's going to come off this end here. I'm going to spin it around lots of times, smooth out my handle, and this one will go up like that. Okay, so and let me take me down just to the last frame. Okay, go to the end, back arrow. So if I go to the end and then back arrow, then I know I'm at the beginning of the last frame. That might be easier to do. Go snap to the end and then hit the back arrow, because you got to be at the beginning of the last frame, not at the end of the last frame. Okay, I can't emphasize that more. Okay, whoops. There we go. I'm going to keyframe that, take that down to 0, and there we go. And scale this down, and this one's going to come over here. Maybe scale down even more. Take my rotate tool, rotate it around a few times. Control click on my smooth, and give myself a better handle. There we go. All right. So we'll hit home. We got Lindy Hop flying in. What happened, Thane? What happened? So it looks like my opacity went to 0. Oh, it looks like I forgot to keyframe it. That's the problem. There we go. My opacity at 0. Jump to the next one. That's the end. Oh, do you know what I did? All right, so there we go. I'm in the center now. And I forgot to keyframe it at 100%. Thane, you made a mistake. But I'm back in there now, and I'm keyframing it. So I forgot to initiate keyframing there. I wonder why that happened. I made a mistake. There we go. And of course, I'm going to let this overlap a little bit, because I want my little trick. Yeah. Okay. So let's take the next one. Boogie Woogie. Let's just drop right here. I'm dropping it on the timeline, snapping to these grids, these 2-second grids. You can see I got a 2-second grid going from bang. And if I double click the clip, load it into the viewer, whoops, you can see it tells me it's 1 frame. Close enough. Close enough. Okay. And this should be actually on video track up here. There we go. Okay. So okay, there's half. There's about 15 seconds, roughly. 4:15. Okay. Keyframe my opacity. Keyframe transformation. I'm just zooming over to this window. You see these little, this is reset. no matter what you do, if you want to click, you can reset it back to default. Okay, these little back arrows. Okay. Okay. Click the timeline, plus 100 for 1 second. There it is there. Keyframe my opacity and my transformation. Go to the beginning of the clip. There I am right there. You can see my little end point. Now I'm at the beginning of the clip. Right there, you see that little end point? Graphical user interface. I'm going to keyframe opacity. Opacity is going to 0, and keyframe my transformation. And I can move these sliders around, but I find it a lot easier by just doing this kind of stuff. And moving that over here. And rotating it. Right click, smooth out, grab my little Bezier handles. And okay, let's go to the end. So I'm at the end, back 1 frame. And you can see over here, I got my graphical user interface telling me I'm at the beginning of the last frame. Okay, when I was at the beginning, and we'll just go to the beginning, you can see right there, my endpoint. Okay, so you should know when you're at the beginning of the last frame by looking at that. Okay, and one more time, we're going to keyframe opacity and all my transformation settings. I'm clicking this button because it does them all with 1 click. I can do each one individually if I wanted to. And I'm keyframing pits and yaw, and I'm not even changing that, but you know, it's easier just to click 1. Okay. And I'm shrinking this down, and I'm moving it over here. And I'm going to rotate it a whole bunch of times. Take its opacity to 0, and control click or right click and give me my Bezier handles. And let's do something like that. Okay. Let's hit home. Click the timeline, deselect everything. Lindy Hop. All right. I want to stop. I want to overlap them. There we go. And what I really want to do, let's just go here, and I'm going to control click, and I'm going to copy Caroline and Shay, because I want to paste like the attributes. Remember we did that in Premiere. We just did the first 2, and we pasted the keyframes on the second 2. That's what I'm going to do on this last one. And what is the last word? We got jitterbug. Right. I'm running out of room here. Let's just bring this up here. Let's come over here to my track height. And let's just make them smaller. There we go. All right, so I can move this over here. Another 2 seconds. Bang. And make that 2 seconds. And then click on that and paste attributes. Okay, what am I pasting? Timing. I guess that's it. Timing. How about opacity? So opacity, position, zoom, rotation angle. There we go. Okay, and I click apply. Beautiful. And we'll just make this guy overlap here by a little bit. Yeah, let's just move it a little bit more. This is all Shift Z. That didn't work well. Shift Z. There we go. And I'm just visually overlapping. Let's see what this looks like. Let's bring this down. Let's hit home. I forgot something. We forgot one item, and that is my text. So let's just take this and we'll just drop that. See what this looks like. All right, not bad. Swing dance today. Okay, there we go. So, beautiful. Let's just go, I'm going to go back to my double monitors. I'm going to close my inspector palette. I'm going to go to timeline number 1. Okay, timeline number 1, I'm going to go back to my master. I'm going to grab this audio file and drop that down there. Okay, my music. Again, a lot of times, you can actually give it a different label. You can give your clips a different color. So we can do orange for my music, green for dialogue, and various things. Okay, I can do that with my clips too. I can have, video. Color coding is nice. Let's hit Shift Z to see what we got here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just marquee this stuff. I'm going to just slide her to the end. Somewhere like that. And then I'm going to have my intro timeline. Right there, you can see the icon. Join here. Okay, so I'm recording now. So again, I created these 2 separate timelines. Let's just do Shift Z so you can see this one. I created 2 separate timelines, one for my intro and one timeline for, still got crappy green screen stuff, and one for my intro and one for my main timeline. So I'm just going to grab the intro timeline and just drop it right there. Okay, and I've joined the 2 together. I'll snap it at the beginning. You kind of see I'm running out of space here. Let's just, if I can't really shrink this down, can I? Because if I shrink it down, I'm going to lose my last thing. I don't want that to happen. Can I alter the speed of this change clip speed? Let's see. I'm changing it as 1. It is now 12 seconds, 1 frame. I want to make it. Can I clean? I can't get that out of my way. I would say that looks like it's canceled. My playhead is at 10 seconds, 17 frames. Okay, so let's actually go here. We're going to change the clip speed to, there's 10:15. There we go. Change. Beautiful. That will fit right in there now. I'll snap it there. Let's hit home.
If you look at the Lindy Hop, you'll see a couple.
Okay, not bad. So I got my clip to fit in there. I'm going to do a couple little bit different things here. I'm going to just bring in my, and here, let's just select everything except for my music, and let's just snap everything to the beginning. There we go. Okay, so I don't have the last people dancing. I can see I got to cut this off, but I'm not kind of done yet. So let's.
If you look at the Lindy Hop, you'll see a couple just moving. They're constantly moving. They're always on the go. They go around in a circle, mostly clockwise, sometimes reverse. There's a lot of stops, a lot of spins, a lot of boogie woogie steps. You use your whole body. So you kick, you use your arms, you use your hips, you use everything in your body to accentuate what you hear in the music.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. What I'm going to do, I got one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to, a couple things. I need an extra second or two. So I'm going to come back to my intro. I'm going to change clip speed, and I'm going to ripple sequence is what I want to do. And let's take it down to 8 seconds. Is that what I'm at there now? If I change, there we go. And I did a ripple. So I did a ripple delete, so I changed the speed to 8 seconds from 10. They're dancing quicker.
If you look at the list,
all right, you can see I'm just going to have this snap right to the end there, bang.
To accentuate what you hear in the music.
That's like kind of an ugly clip there. So let's take my edit tool and let's just do a new. There we go. Got them starting and stopping, spinning around. There we go. That's what I want.
The body to accentuate what you hear in the music.
All right, and of course, fade that baby to black. There we go. All right, so let's hit home. That brought in from black. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to work on the audio track here. Our ducking is what they call it, to lower the audio when Rob's talking or the music. I'll take this down a little bit in the volume. Whoops. Okay, but I can't see my waveforms. I need to see my waveforms. Let's just take this up a bit. And so over here, timeline options show waveforms, okay? My timeline view options, this little triangle. Depends, it may show in different spots. You know, I'm on a 27-inch iMac with 5K iMac, so it spreads it out a little bit, but you can see what it looks like. Let's see what the button looks like. See what it looks like? It's on top of your timeline, okay? And show my waveforms. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and I've got both tracks showing at the same time. Can I just display individual? I'll just have one audio track. Okay, both channels. Save myself time because it's, you know, I want it to work the same way. Okay, I'm not working my left-right channel. I'm just working with one channel. So I told it to show me one channel, make it save me a lot of time. So I want a keyframe here, and here's my volume. I can take the whole volume up or down. You can kind of see if I command click, I've added a keyframe. All right, and if you remember, you can see it's not the gray line. The gray line is, it's a little white line. And you can see when I put my cursor over it, it turns. Okay, that's not it. That's dividing left and right. Okay, yeah, but there it is. Okay, and I can just drag it up to take the whole thing up or down in my mix. Go back to 0 dB. Because what I want to do is I'm just going to, hold on the command key. Whoops. There we go. I mean option. Sorry, option. There we go. Option, clicking on the timeline gives me keyframes. So I need, as I mentioned before, I need 4. And then so I can take this one down in the mix. Okay. And see what that sounds like.
if you look at the Lindy Hop, you'll see a couple just moving.
All right. I'm going to zoom out. There it is, the first one. And it kind of even gives you a visual clue that it's actually taking the volume down. What's this one at? I want that to be at 0 dB. There we go. Okay, so I'm just moving down, and you can see I can zoom in a bit on my timeline, and I'll just do the same thing. So it's Option, click for keyframes. I think I'm going to just lower it down. You know, let's see what it looks like.
They're constantly moving. They're always on the go. They go around in a circle, mostly clockwise. Sometimes.
Okay, so let's just take it right to here. Right about here. Oops. Option, click. Option, click. Okay, then let's just take this down a little bit. Okay, and then we got talking again. So Option, click. Oops, Option, click. Option, click. And Option, click. Option, click. So I need 4. 2 to bring her down, 2 to bring her back up. And let's just put, oops, awesome. Option, click. I apologize. Option, click, and Option, click. There we go. I just grab that, drop it down there. Okay, and I got her fading to black. Let's just zoom up. All right, let's just grab that. Put my cursor here, and there it is. Take that to black. All right, there we go. And I'll kind of match my audio fade with my, there we go. Beautiful. Back out. Shift Z. Let's bring this down so we can see everything. There we go. We can click here and just change my audio track heights. There we go. All right, let's hit home.
If you look at the Lindy Hop, you'll see a couple just moving. They're constantly moving. They go around in a circle, mostly clockwise, sometimes reverse. There's a lot of stops, a lot of spins, a lot of boogie-woogie steps. You use your whole body. So you kick, you use your arms, you use your hips, you use everything in your body to accentuate what you hear in the music.
There we go. There's the project now completed in Davinci Resolve, just like we did it in Premiere. Okay. You know, there's something else I'm going to do to this guy. You see? Come on down. I want to bring that up a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in on that just to make it easier on myself. And okay, so I want to bring the music up right here. Come on down. And so let's just zoom in here a little bit. Let's just grab my playhead. Come on down. All right, I like that. So I'm going to all right, and let's just take my playhead again. Whoops, the playhead thing, not the play. There we go. So if I click here, yeah, that's where it is. Okay, so Option, click. There we go, and right about here, he's not done talking. Let's go. Option, click, and Option, click, and let's take this up to 0. There we go. Let's see what this sounds like. Let's back out of here. Let's just go back here.
There's a lot of stops, a lot of spins, a lot of boogie-woogie steps. You use your whole body. So you kick, You use your arms. You use your
Yeah, I like
hands.
that.
You use everything in your body to accentuate. There's a lot of stops, a lot of spin, a lot of boogie steps. You use your whole body.
All right.
You can't.
That's this project. So we've recreated the project again in Davinci Resolve. Okay, so now you got it again in Premiere Pro and Davinci Resolve. A simple edit with some flying graphics, audio, 2 audio tracks, fading in, fading out. What we didn't do this class and what we didn't do in Premiere classes, I didn't add any transitions. Okay, I didn't add any transitions into Premiere, and we'll talk about that in class. I'll show you right in class so we can watch, because we have lots of cool transitions. So I go my effects library and I go to video transitions. There's all kinds of transitions, but that's another class. Okay. Well, I'm going to show you anyways. So there's a trend. We got all kinds, but here's this one with the red lines is the default, and you can make many default. I think you just right click on it and you set as standard transition, and that's what cross dissolve is, a standard. So if I take the cross dissolve and I drop it between the 2 clips, you can see how there it is. I can stretch it out. I can do that. This is a cross dissolve, and I'll show you what it does. It just
They're constantly.
did that. And I double click on it. Oh, I guess it just loads in the window. In Premiere, I double click on it. It loads into the inspector palette, and I can actually play around with it. Okay. Let's just go here. I can actually probably do it here. I can change the length of it. Do we have any? Yes, I got controls over here in my inspector palette for my cross dissolve. Where it starts, is it aligned in the center? It's a cross dissolve. Is it an additive dissolve? I can change it around. Okay. Start ratio, end ratio. I can put a ease on this, so I can ease it in and ease it out.
They're constantly moving. They're always on the go. They go around in a circle, mostly clockwise.
Transitions, all right. And we have a transition that calls a smooth cut. So if you did a cut and it wasn't smooth, and you remove something from your frame, the guy could have blinked or sneezed or coughed, and you want to cut that right out, so you can actually, this will help it. Usually we cut on motion, but we'll find a reason to use that. Transitions, okay. And so transitions and special effects is another class. This is our basic video editing, and we've done it now in Premiere Pro and the same project in Davinci Resolve. All right, thank you.